First of all, I want to be upfront before I start. I'm not here to tell you that fasting is the answer. I'm also not going to give you a list of benefits backed by studies or tell you that it'll fix your metabolism or that it's the secret nobody's talking about. What I am going to do is tell you exactly what happened when I started experimenting with it. So the good parts, the bad parts, and why I'm still doing it. If that's useful to you, great. If it's not your thing, fine. The first time I tried a multi-day fast was in 2022. I fasted for 3 days and I was doing calisthenics at home at the time, bodyweight training, nothing too intense. I'm not going to say it was some profound physical experience. I felt a little bit wobbly the first 2 days and my training and my energy levels weren't that great. One thing I did realize that I wasn't really expecting was how little of my hunger was actually hunger. I realized that most of it was habit, boredom, routine, or just the clock saying it was time to eat. Real hunger, like the physical kind, showed up much later than I thought it would. And when I understood that, something shifted in how I thought about food. So that was the real takeaway I had from that first fast. It wasn't the weight loss or anything about performance, just that a lot of hunger is psychological and the result of conditioning. Fast forward to December last year, I picked up a book on fasting for fat loss specifically. It's called The Anti-Fragile Diet by a guy whose Instagram handle is Atlas Power Shrugged. Check him out. I highly recommend the book. At that point, I wanted to get more intentional about using fasting as a deliberate tool for my own fat loss goals. So I did a 3-day fast before Christmas and I trained normally through it and felt okay. Then winter in Amsterdam happened. I was getting chilblains, like those cold rashes on my fingers, on my feet. Fasting was making me even colder in a way that was genuinely uncomfortable. So I paused fasting through January and February. And I'm just telling you this because this is what actually happens in real life. It's not linear. And in that specific period, my body had a different opinion on what I should be doing for it. So when I came back to it in late February, I thought I'd ease back with a 2-day fast. Then I rebounded hard. Not exactly like a binge, but my hunger after 2 days was through the roof and I lost control of my eating for the next few days after. More than I wanted to. I don't know exactly why. It could be hormonal, as ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone, peaks around that point. It could have been psychological, probably a bit of both, but here's what's interesting. The following week, I did a 4-day fast. I planned it as 3 days, but then extended it to 4 because on day 3, I felt absolutely amazing. I trained on 3 of those 4 days with my regular program and I hit new numbers. On days 3 and days 4, especially, my mental clarity and energy levels were up the wazoo in a way that I really wasn't expecting. So no hunger to speak of. It was the opposite of my 2-day experience. And that told me something. For me, at least, longer fasts seem to work better than shorter ones. The 2-day mark is where my hunger peaked, and when I pushed through it, something better was waiting on the other side. I don't know if that's true for everyone, but in my experience, this has been true in every fast up to this point. Ironically, as I'm filming this, I'm on day 2 of another fast. I'm aiming for 3 days again, maybe 4 if tomorrow feels like the last time. One thing I'm trying differently this time is eating very low carb the day before I start my fast, like keto level low. And the idea is that if I'm already running lower on glycogen going in, the transition into fat burning might be smoother. And to be honest, I already feel my energy levels are better this time around on day 2 than in my previous 2 fasts. This is what I mean when I say I'm figuring this out in real time. I'm not giving you a perfect protocol, but more what I'm actually doing and noticing along the way. Now, here's what people always ask though. Doesn't fasting kill your muscle? Doesn't it wreck your performance? And in my experience, I want to be clear, this is my experience, not a clinical study. The answer is no. Not when it's structured and not when you're training heavy and eating enough protein on average in your eating windows. I train fasted most mornings anyway and use intermittent fasting as my default protocol. And I've been doing that on and off since 2018, and my strength hasn't gone backwards at all, actually. Multi-day fasts are a different beast. They're a specific tool I use for fat loss, not something I do every week. The combination of heavy lifting and fasting, that's what this whole community is built around. Not because it's optimal, but because it works for my life, for my schedule, and my goals. And that's the only reason I'd ever recommend anything to anyone. Do it because it fits your life, not because a study said so. So, closing notes here. If you've been curious about fasting but haven't tried it because it sounds extreme or because you train and you're worried about losing muscle, I'd say just experiment. Start small, do a 24-hour fast, see what happens. Pay attention to what's actually hunger and what's just habit. You might find it's not for you, and that's also useful information. Or you might find, like I did, that it changes how you think about food in a way that's hard to explain until you've tried it. That's why I fast. I'll keep documenting this as I go, what's working, what isn't, and what I'm adjusting. If you want to follow along and build your own version of this, the community link is below. See you there. Onwards.